Welcome to 5 Good Minutes.
You're listening to today's inspirational message on the book of 1 Thessalonians
with Kurt Bjorklund.
1 Thessalonians 2 is a chapter that starts out talking about our visit to you was not in vain, it wasn't empty. And if we take this as the head verse for the whole chapter, talking about how to not have our ministries amount to nothing, how to not have our investment in the things of God amount to nothing, then we begin to see how this comes together. And then it says this, verse 9, surely you remember, brothers, our toil and hardship. We work night and day in order not to be a burden to anyone while we preach the gospel to you. You are our witnesses, and so is God, of how righteous and blameless we were among you who believed. So verse 9, typically from a paragraph standpoint, goes with verse 7 and 8. So you could say that's about the mother and the hard work, the diligence. But I'm just going to put this here with this idea of saying we worked hard, and then we were righteous and blameless when we were among you. Verse 11, for you know that we dealt with you each as a father deals with his own children. And then it says, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God who calls you into his kingdom of glory. So the hard work is somebody who is willing to say, in essence, I will seek to be righteous. The New American Standard says devoutly, uprightly, and blameless. So it has three words because devout is replacing holy. So the idea in 1 Thessalonians 2 is talking about how there's a character that's part of what we cultivate, so that when we move into the place as a father to encourage and exhort and to say, this is what I think is important, that we have credibility. I've been a dad for over 20 years. I have 4 sons. And one of the things that I've learned is that when your kids are little, you have a little wiggle room on what you say and what you do. But as your kids age, anything that is inconsistent in terms of what you say and what you do, they pick up on instantly, meaning it is super important that you start to say, I am living, I am devout, I am not just putting on some kind of airs. By the way, the word for labor in verse 9 or work means exhausting labor. And it talks about trouble and pain, arduous work of ministry. Then when we start to hear these words holy, it means to be pious. It means our duty toward God ultimately. That's the idea of devout. Righteously indicates our duties toward people. And then blamelessly is a reference, in a sense, of how we live among other people. And so there's a reputation. So we have a focus on God, a focus on people, and then a desire to be blameless. And then he tells us what this looks like in terms of how we live. And this is the idea in verse 11 and 12. Verse 12, encouraging, comforting, and urging. And let me just give you these Greek words because there's something interesting. I'm going to read just a little bit here. The word for encouraging is literally the word that means to come alongside, to be a partner, to exhort somebody in a line of conduct. And the word for encourage means basically to encourage someone to continue in a course. Lightfoot, in his commentary on this, says this word is addressed to the feelings rather than the will. And then the word for urging means to summon, to solemnly charge. And then again, it talks about walking in the way that you live, to live lives worthy. So you want to live a life that's worthy, and then there are these 3 things that you exhort, encourage, and that you urge. And this is in some ways the essence of something that doesn't fall flat, that you can come along people and with a boldness because of how God has worked in your life, what God has done, you are able to then turn around and say, I can encourage you, exhort you, and urge you to follow Jesus, to give Jesus all of your life because I have lived it and I know what it means. Is that true of you today? And if so, then your ministry will not be empty. It won't be vain.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.